U.S. scientist confirms Russian fears of a new planet and warns will soon affect the Earth. A new appendix added earlier today to the massive Aerospace Defense Forces report relating to the mysterious new planet confirmed to be the outer reaches of our solar system says that an American scientist has confirmed many of its findings and further states that our Earth is now under direct threat as this celestial body could begin to harm our Earth this month. As previously reported, mysterious planet ejected from black hole at center of galaxy warned could soon impact Earth. The ADF has become increasingly alarmed at the threats this mysterious new planet poses to Earth from the time it was first discovered by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, in 2005, to the final confirmation of its existence by California Institute of Technology, Caltech, scientists, January 2016. Adding to Russia's fears about this mysterious planet was the secret NASA information about it supplied by Federation authorities by NASA computer expert Lloyd Albright in 1999 and U.S. astronaut and Navy Captain Lisa Nowak in 2007. That was so fearful Albright hid himself in a cave, and Nowak told her Russian interviewers, quote, "They won't tell anyone the truth," and "I've never believed the Bible, but now I have to," end quote. The new appendix added today, the report says, comes from Daniel Whitmire, PhD, retired professor of physics from the University of Louisiana, who in a scientific paper written for Oxford University's monthly notices of the Royal Astronautics Society, claims that this mysterious planet he calls by the ancient Sumerian name of Nibiru has all but arrived at our neck of the woods, and that the destruction brought about by its gravitational trickery will take place this month, as it's done numerous times before every time it passes by. Dr. Scientist Whitmire and his colleague John Matisse first published research on the connection between this mysterious planet and the mass extinction on Earth in the journal Nature in 1985. So this report continues, and which this past January Caltech researchers estimated its size as being a tremendous, huge, 10 times the mass of the Earth. However, both Dr. Scientist Whitmire and Caltech researchers agree that this mysterious new planet now exists in our solar system. They disagree on its present orbit. ADF scientists, in their report, note that the orbital mechanics of this mysterious planet are less to be considered than the electromagnetically caused chaos it will represent in our solar system, which on Earth, they say, could be manifested in violent and increased earthquakes, massive volcanic explosions, and weather disasters caused by changes, that's increase and decreases of sunspots to our sun, not to mention the hundreds, if not thousands, of asteroids that could impact Earth. Important to note is that, unlike Western scientists who adhere to the non-proven gravitational theory of our universe, Russian scientists ascribe to the elliptical theory, creating for these two bodies of experts an incompatible gulf of knowledge that cannot ever be bridged. I'll leave a link below for you for this article, April 10th.
Which is consistently moving, and the changes here on Earth fluctuate with the movement of this planet in our solar system. He further explains that the planets around the brown dwarf orbit this dark star. The precise position of the planets and the system itself dictate how the Nibiru system impacts Earth at any given moment in time. As it grows close, changes will be more widespread and pronounced. In recent months, a growing number of whistleblowers have come out to speak publicly about Uranus. because Nibiru is on an elongated elliptical orbit relative to our southern hemisphere. So people living in this part of the world would see Nibiru first, and they shall also be the first to experience whatever Nibiru brings with it. And it's not bringing anything good. The Ronnie ice shelf will likely break off the continent and drift into the Weddell Sea. This will cause enormous icebergs to drift toward New Zealand. As the ice reaches warmer waters, it will rapidly melt, causing a significant rise in sea level. To give you an idea of the significance of such an event, if it were to take place, and recent data from these locations suggest that this is happening now and at an accelerated rate. Take a look at this video of what our future continents may look like. Largest at 487,000 square kilometers, roughly the size of France, may also separate from the continent, causing mountainous clusters of ice to float south towards New Zealand and Australia. Polar storms, unlike any the world has seen, will ravage the continent in conjunction with a marked increase in seismic and volcanic activity. Mount Sippel, one of Antarctica's largest active volcanoes, is certain to erupt, sending a plume of deadly ash into the atmosphere. This will be the start of a pole shift. Large earthquakes will ripple across the continent. Add to that multiple super eruptions. This will shake Antarctica to its very foundation. And this is just the beginning. What happens in Antarctica is merely a precursor for what will happen across the entire globe. The devastation will start there, then rapidly spread. Scientists who are aware and who know of this approaching system have indicated that those living in the southern hemisphere will be the first to witness its destruction, but that those who live in the northern hemisphere should be prepared for what's coming, as the geography of North America will be forever changed by the rising sea levels and tsunamis that will affect all three coastlines of the United States. Those living in large metropolitan areas coastlines will be affected in unimaginable ways by these drastic changes, as the coastlines of the United States will be several hundred miles inland from their current locations. It may be interesting to note that this data matches warnings issued by other Nibiru whistleblowers and researchers. Renegade astronomer Paul Cox and Nibiru enthusiast John Moore have released maps depicting North America's post-Nibiru coastlines. I know this all sounds horrible and almost unbelievable. This depiction is what we would call a perfect nightmare scenario for millions of people. But it is important that you remember one thing above all else. Humans have a strong desire to survive. So although lives will be changed in the blink of an eye by what approaches, life will continue on this planet in one form or another, as it always has.
I say to you quite tastelessly,
or another, as it always has. I would like to direct your attention to a few very intriguing images and videos that I received just recently. Now, I would encourage you to continue sending your images and video captures to our Facebook page at the address shown here. You can also send them private email on our YouTube account by clicking on the About icon located on our channel page shown below. The first image captured from the SOHO imaging website on September the 16th is showing a massive object just below the ecliptic plane, which is shaped similar to a comet. Now, if we enlarge this object, you will notice that immediately behind this giant comet-like object is a trail of debris, meteors and asteroids, and then a cluster of planets and smaller objects following in a serpentine formation or a double helix formation, what some have called the string of pearls. Now, if this satellite image has indeed captured this complex of planets, or the Nemesis system, then the notion that it has entered our inner solar system, as Marshall Masters and Major Ed Dames and other Nibiru researchers are now claiming, then this could be very well true. Once the system crosses the ecliptic plane, its movement will be more rapid, and it will become more visible in both the daylight and the evening sky. On September 2nd, an incredible video capture of the blue Kachina was recorded in the evening sky. Take a look at these extraordinary images seen from a distance and then enlarged. This fits the description of the blue star as described by the Hopi tribe. Now take a look at the image once again in this photo. To the right is the actual object that was observed. But if you look at the ancient inscription to the left, you will notice how remarkably similar the circled inscription is to the formation of the observed object. These images are absolutely astonishing and irrefutably undeniable. Finally, I wanted to share this September 14th video captured by a skywatcher that actually considers himself to be a diehard skeptic of Planet X. He says that after viewing what he captured outside on video on a moonlight night, he has to admit that there is something out there that he cannot explain away. Furthermore, he says that the object appears to be moving slowly towards us. Now, obviously, what he has picked up cannot possibly be as close as between the Earth and the Moon. But what he has captured certainly resembles a planet. And if you look closely at the movement of the clouds in the background, you will notice that they pass in front of this very large entity. So, folks, there are some very strange things appearing in the heavens, which we just cannot explain. Images of this incoming system are becoming more prevalent each passing day, and it's up to each of us to be more vigilant and observant in the days ahead. Whatever is happening now is an ominous sign, a warning of what is coming our way. These signs are given to us so that we may warn others of the dangers that lie ahead, so that we may gain the courage and the fortitude to prepare ourselves both mentally and physically for what lies in wait.
The sun is tilted by 6 degrees with respect to the plane of the planets. The reason for the non-zero solar obliquity has been a mystery since it was first discovered by Sir Richard Carrington in the mid-1800s. It turns out that Planet 9 can actually tilt the sun.
The fact that the sun is tilted, even if it's only by 6 degrees, the fact that the sun is tilted, the sun is the most massive thing in our solar system by a huge margin, and it's oriented differently than everything else in the solar system. That is an incredibly strange phenomenon for which there really have not been that many explanations even attempted over the last 150 years. It's naturally explained by Planet 9 being exactly where we think Planet 9 is, which it's one of these mysteries that we think is now solved, that's been such a mystery that people haven't even really talked about it very much over the last 150 years because it's just been so difficult to think of why it is.
It has been known since the mid-1800s that the sun is tilted. Over the years, people have put forth various explanations for it. One possibility is that the sun was interacting with the protoplanetary disk via magnetic fields. It's also possible that the disk was just asymmetrical from the beginning. And it's also possible that the sun actually had a stellar companion a long time ago.
It was a moment of inspiration. Not all projects start out this way. Not all results really come. Some of them come, it slowly dawns on you. We were sitting in Constantine's office one afternoon, and we were actually thinking about a different problem entirely, which is how Planet 9 would interact with these very distant objects in the Kuiper belt that made us originally think that Planet 9 was there. And in just a moment, as we're thinking about it, and we're doing this with our hands, trying to think of directions things are going, I think we both realized at about the same time. It's like, oh, it's going to make the sun look tilted too. And it was very clear from the way we did our fingers that it was going to make an effect. What we didn't know until we did the calculations was how much of an effect was it going to have and in what direction was it going to go. But we knew it had to do something.
Planet 9 has been scattered out into the distant solar system. So because it has an orbital period that's so long, it has an enormous amount of angular momentum, right? As much almost as the rest of the solar system combined. So even though as an object it is not as massive as Jupiter, it has a huge lever bar. Okay? And using that lever bar, it can effectively torque the rest of the disk of the solar system by 6 degrees over the age of the sun.
Next, always next on our list is find the planet. We think we have it narrowed down to a pretty small patch in the sky that we have to look at. Small patch in the sky still means we need many, many nights on the telescope. We're pretty convinced that by maybe the end of next winter, we will have been able to cover enough sky that we'll actually be able to find it. When we find it, we both show that this hypothesis has been correct, we learn about it, but we also see how much of the sun, how it should have tilted the sun too, and see if this is the only thing that's been tilting the sun or if other things are around doing it. When we looked at the outer solar system, we realized that while most of the very distant objects, these objects beyond Neptune, beyond Pluto, most of these objects, they all go around the sun and they're all sort of pointing off in all different directions. But the most distant objects all swing out in one direction in a very strange way that shouldn't happen. And we realized that the only way we could get them to all swing in one direction is if there is a massive planet also very distant in the solar system, keeping them in place while they all go around the sun. And we started looking at this and thinking, this must be either a coincidence or it's caused by something else. It can't be caused by a planet because that's crazy. There are no planets out there. I went from trying very hard to be skeptical that what we were talking about was true to suddenly thinking, oh, this actually might even be true.
So the object itself likely is more massive than the Earth, probably a little bit less massive than Neptune. It sits right in between that terrestrial to giant icy planet range. Its orbit, unlike the orbits of the known planets, is not nearly circular and planar. Instead, it is exceptionally wide, 20 times bigger than the orbit of Neptune. The orbital period of the Earth is, of course, 1 year. Right? The orbital period of Jupiter, the big player in our solar system, is about 10 years. The orbital period of this putative ninth planet is 20,000 years.
We have nothing like it in the solar system, so it's new for us. It is, however, the most common mass of planets that have been found around all of the other stars. People have always looked at all these other planets in this strange mass range and said, wow, I wonder what these are. I don't know what these are because we don't have anything like it in the solar system. Looks like maybe we do. I'm really hoping that as we announce this, people start a worldwide search to go find this ninth planet.
Again, solar stream is coming from the right. That's where the sun is. All the plasma in the blue is being blown backwards. That's a part of our protective shield here. 2 hours missing, 5:37, exactly the same time. Everything goes haywire. Come up to that point again. Everything's coming from the right. Bam. Now the black lines are our field lines. That's our magnetic field lines. Very important. They have now bent backwards at this point. People have talked about Planet X, Nibiru, Planet 7. If there's an object coming in, would it have orbiting planets? Would it have debris with it?
So this is some stuff that piqued my curiosity that I'm sharing with you here. All of this stuff will be linked. I suggest you go to the Caltech thing and watch the whole video. But anyways, I'm going to try and get through this quickly for you. Planet X to really cause mass extinction this month. This is April 9th, 2016. We're going to come down here. Thanks to science, we know that the larger the celestial body, the bigger its gravity, and consequently its ability to affect other, smaller bodies around it. We've known of Jupiter's crucial role in protecting us from asteroids for quite some time now, but the mysterious Nibiru could very well do the opposite, and some say there's good reason to believe it. We're going to come down here. A retired astrophysics professor from the University of Louisiana, Daniel Whitmire, is saying Nibiru has all but arrived to our neck of the woods, and that the destruction brought about by its gravitational trickery will take place this very April, as it's done numerous times before. Then we're going to come down here. Earlier this year, we started seeing space anomalies manifesting in a small group of objects, which have been taking on a peculiar orbit. Only something 10 times the size of the Earth, as theorized with Nibiru, could influence celestial objects in such a way, according to a study from Caltech. The anomaly was picked up on in the Kuiper Belt, which stretches all the way past Neptune, and it resurrected a 100-year debate. And then we're going to come over here, because again, this stuff just piqued my curiosity, and I wanted to share it with you. This is fire officials' reclaim report of possible meteor strike in Bowie. This is Bowie, Maryland. This was on April 25th, 2016. And we're going to come down here, where this was put out by the Bowie Volunteer Fire Department. Possible meteorite strike behind Scarlet Oak Terrace causing a massive brush fire. And then we're going to come up here and see that when firefighters made it to the site, there was a large pit, which was 12 to 15 feet wide by 5 to 6 feet deep. And the fire spread to adjacent trees and brush and took approximately 15 firefighters 4 hours to extinguish. But again, they came out and said, nope, that should have never been put out. The post should have never listed a meteorite as the cause. Okay. Okay, so now we're coming over here. Was it a meteor? Solving the mystery of New Jersey's tsunami buoy. April 25th, 2016. A tsunami warning device about 200 miles off the coast of New Jersey went into event mode over the weekend, but there were no giant waves threatening the shore. There was speculation that the drop could have been triggered by a meteor because the Lyrid meteor showers were active during the weekend. There also was speculation a submarine could have struck the buoy. So again, this stuff just piqued my curiosity, want to share. We're going to move here. Okay, so now here we are, coast to coast. This was from March 30th, 2016. In the first half of the show, retired investigative researcher Bob Fletcher talked about his contention that a rogue Planet X or Nibiru is coming our way and the disastrous effects it could have for Earth. He first became suspicious that something was afoot when he discovered that massive amounts of money were being funneled out of the government and the Federal Reserve. He concluded that these funds were surreptitiously used for the construction and stocking of underground facilities that will house the elite and members of the New World Order, while the arrival of Planet X wreaks cataclysms upon the planet's surface. According to his sources, the knowledge of Planet X dates as far back as 1983. So again, I was just like, well, that's interesting. And so we're coming over here because I remembered hearing about Rumsfeld talking about the missing $2.3 trillion that they couldn't track on September 10th. And we all know what happened on September 11th, 2001. Nobody was talking about the missing money. So I Googled just to see, and there was this one, which brought me over here. So here we are, debunked. Rumsfeld says 2.3 trillion missing from the Pentagon. In 2001, Donald Rumsfeld said, according to some estimates, we cannot track 2.3 trillion in transactions. This has been misinterpreted by many people as 2.3 trillion actually going missing. However, it's really just about the way the money was accounted for. So here's the original source. Go look at it for yourself, right? Okay. Oh, well, golly gee. Page not found. Okay, well, there was another link, right? Here, we can also see this. Huh. No input file specified, but yes, there was. So again, this was something, this has gone long, but it really, really piqued my curiosity. And I wanted to share it because, again, trying to put the pieces together. Here we are. He first became suspicious that something was afoot when he discovered that massive amounts of money were being funneled out of the government. And then, I don't know. This just made me go, that's interesting.
What we have discovered is that numerous features of the Kuiper Belt, a field of icy debris beyond the orbit of Neptune, can be understood if the solar system possesses an additional ninth planet that resides well beyond the orbits of the known planets.
When we looked at the outer solar system, we realized that while most of the very distant objects, these objects beyond Neptune, beyond Pluto, most of these objects, they all go around the sun and they're all sort of pointing off in all different directions. But the most distant objects all swing out in one direction in a very strange way that shouldn't happen. And we realized that the only way we could get them to all swing in one direction is if there is a massive planet also very distant in the solar system, keeping them in place while they all go around the sun. And we started looking at this and thinking, this must be either a coincidence or it's caused by something else. It can't be caused by a planet because that's crazy. There are no planets out there. I went from trying very hard to be skeptical that what we were talking about was true to suddenly thinking, oh, this actually might even be true.
So the object itself likely is more massive than the Earth, probably a little bit less massive than Neptune. It sits right in between that terrestrial to giant icy planet range. Its orbit, unlike the orbits of the known planets, is not nearly circular and planar. Instead, it is exceptionally wide, 20 times bigger than the orbit of Neptune. The orbital period of the Earth is, of course, 1 year. Right? The orbital period of Jupiter, the big player in our solar system, is about 10 years. The orbital period of this putative ninth planet is 20,000 years.
We have nothing like it in the solar system, so it's new for us. It is, however, the most common mass of planets that have been found around all of the other stars. People have always looked at all these other planets in this strange mass range and said, wow, I wonder what these are. I don't know what these are because we don't have anything like it in the solar system. Looks like maybe we do. There are many telescopes on the Earth that actually have a chance of being able to find it. And I think that many people will be inspired to use their telescopes. I'm really hoping that as we announce this, people start a worldwide search to go find this ninth planet.
History shows us that it's a bad idea to consistently say we have now reached the end of the solar system and there's nothing beyond what we already know.
And all those people who are mad that Pluto is no longer a planet can be thrilled to know that there's a real planet out there still to be found.
NASA has recently confirmed by its NEOWISE project tracking near-Earth objects that a brown dwarf star is, quote, relatively close to Earth. And of course, in this comparison image, you can see how big the brown dwarf star is compared to Earth. It's bigger than Jupiter. And of course, it's heading inbound towards us, towards our planet. But it's not only NASA of the United States or European Space Agency or the space agencies of other countries that are interested in this planet. It's also the Vatican. In a recent article, Planet X and the Jesuit footage classified Secret Omega, it's the Catholic Church that has its Servizio Informazione del Vaticano, that's the Secret Omega. An Italian investigative journalist claims that he recently had a meeting with a top Vatican official belonging to this Secretum Omega, and they are in charge of extraterrestrial affairs and the return of Planet X. So Secret Omega, governs access to all this information. And this explains why former Vatican insiders, such as Monsignor Corrado Balducci, appear to be out of the loop, and they give this information. The release of the controversial MJ12 files and of the Guardian files by anonymous individuals for the first time in history, one member of the ufological community, an Italian freelance writer and investigative journalist, was able to check the credentials of this anonymous Secret Omega insider. And this man was responsible for the release of classified material having to do with the return of Planet X and extraterrestrials, aliens, and the extraterrestrial affairs. So he was an insider of the presumed Vatican intelligence structure, Secret Omega, and his actions were supported by his colleagues. Now the freelancer Cristoforo Barbato, talking about Secretum Omega, is an Italian independent UFO researcher, and for the last 7 years worked on writing concerning several UFO magazines in Italy. He's also collaborated to the realization of 2 Italian encyclopedias on UFOs, and interesting enough, he also has had many contacts concerning Stargate Extraterrestrial and Stargate Magazine, where he wrote concerning the Fatima apparitions and the famous third secret of Fatima that supposedly has not yet been disclosed by the Vatican, even though they were supposed to do that in the 1960s. So as Barbato was writing his various articles concerning the Fatima apparitions and the famous undisclosed third secret, In the year 2000, he received emails from an anonymous person claiming that he was a Vatican insider belonging to the Omega Secret Service, having to do with the extraterrestrial and Planet X files. He asked to meet him, and he did so in Rome in 2001. And Barbato was sure that this man was legitimate. This man was a Jesuit working at the Holy See, and he provided videos and images having to do with Planet X at the edges of our solar system. So in 2001, the Vatican Insider sent Cristoforo Barbato by post a videotape. And in this videotape, for the first time, it contained a footage of 2 minutes regarding observations of a planetoid in deep space, what we call Planet X, or the 10th planet, as referred to by Zecharia Sitchin, and it was approaching our solar system. The video showed an introduction of writings of classification on it and had been carried out by a secret space probe named Silo. He went on to explain that the Silo space probe, according to Barbato's contact, sent the images of the planetoid Planet X in October of 1995, after it came back from the border of the solar system to have more power for the signal, to a secret radio telescope hidden at an unused oil refining plant in Alaska managed by Jesuits belonging to Secret Omega. He also added that this radio telescope was built in 1990 to observe anomalous celestial bodies on approaching the solar system. Well, we also know that the Vatican has an Arizona telescope watching the skies as well. So the passage from Barbato's press release says, quote, "The meeting with an alien delegation at Maroc Airfield Base in February 1954 in the presence of President Dwight Eisenhower and James Francis McIntyre, Bishop of Los Angeles. After that incredible event, McIntyre flew to Rome to refer everybody to Pope Pius the 12th, who decided to found the SIV, the Secret Omega, with the aim to gather every possible bit of information about aliens and how they interacted with the American government. From then, Bishop McIntyre of the U.S. of Los Angeles and Detroit Archbishop Edward Mooney became the main information co-coordinators between the U.S. and the Vatican State. This Secret Omega insider of the Vatican also informed Barbato, the Italian investigative journalist, that the United States had a phantom spaceship called Aurora, which was capable of reaching Mach 6 speeds. And of course, the U.S. officials are denying that. The insider alleged that it was an American secret hypersonic aircraft capable of reaching the Mach 6 performance. Now, the Italian investigative journalist Barbato remarks are confirmed in Dr. Stephen Greer, his book recently titled Hidden Truth, Forbidden Knowledge. Revealed in the chapter number 16, passages of it have been published in Nexus News Times magazine on the survey Twilight Zone, number 64, October-November 2006, that during a meeting with some rebel insiders taking place in December 1944 in Phoenix by Wrigley Manson, one of them confessed to him that Indeterminate Jesuits control technology on UFOs, information, and contact with aliens. This article also goes on to state that there should have been some direct personal meetings between Secret Omega members and the Nordic-looking races of aliens coming from the Pleiades, and that these aliens presumably warned humans against another alien race met by the Americans in the California desert. That these meetings between Secret Omega and aliens took place mainly in the U.S. territory, but also twice in Rome at the Vatican. Precisely in the Vatican Gardens at the Papal Academy of Sciences, in the presence of Pope Pius XII. The Jesuit contact also confirmed to the Italian journalist the reality of the George Adamski John the 23rd meeting where they spoke about some very interesting details concerning the aliens and Planet X, and also called Secret Omega the highest security level equivalent to the NATO Cosmic Top Secret. I'll leave a link below for you for this article. One of my previous videos was on Planet X, and that NASA had detailed the fact that we had a brown dwarf star relatively close to Earth. Relatively close to Earth without saying how close it was, but it was a discussion concerning near-Earth hazardous objects which could possibly impact Earth or fly so close to Earth that the impact would be felt on Earth. And also Father Malachi Martin, who is close to one of the former popes, who passed away in 1999, and many people believe that his death was not by accident, because he had revealed the fact that Planet X, or some kind of a planetary body, was inbound towards Earth, and that third secret of Fatima would in fact be a celestial body coming so close to Earth or impacting Earth with a devastation, a chaos that would be utterly inconceivable. He said that it would not be a few million casualties, victims, it would be an unimaginable disaster. For quite some time now, the Vatican has had its infrared telescope in Arizona examining the skies for what could be incoming. Also, we had a previous video concerning the fact that the planets in our solar system are heating up, they're lighting up, and the scientists have no explanation as to what is causing this. Of course, there is something causing it, something causing friction, something causing energy, and they have no idea where it's coming from. We also have over 100 underground bunkers in the United States. People who are affluent, the elite, the rich people, the people that can afford the underground bunkers are trying to set them up for something that they believe is incoming, some kind of a devastation. We also see that the Federal Bank of New York has moved from New York to Chicago because they fear of something that may take place concerning the East Coast, some kind of a natural catastrophe. And it's not just in the caliber of Hurricane Sandy, something much more. Pope John Paul II in Fulda, Germany, 1980. October 1981, issue of the German magazine Stimme des Glaubens reported on a discussion that Pope John Paul II had with a select group of German Catholics in November of 1980 the following verbatim report. Discussion. Text of the public report says, the Holy Father was asked, what about the third secret of Fatima? Should it not have already been published by 1960? Pope John Paul II replied, given the seriousness of the contents, my predecessors in the Petrine office diplomatically preferred to postpone publication so as not to encourage the world power of communism to make certain moves. On the other hand, it should be sufficient for all Christians to know this. If there is a message in which it is written that the oceans will flood whole areas of the earth, that's of course tsunamis, the whole areas of the earth worldwide, going back to what Pope John Paul was saying, and that from one moment to the next, millions of people will perish. Truly, the publication of such a message is no longer something to be so much desired. The Pope continued, many wish to know simply from curiosity and a taste for the sensational, but they forget that knowledge also implies responsibility. They only seek the satisfaction of their curiosity, and that is dangerous if at the same time they are not disposed to do something. and if they are convinced that it is impossible to do anything against evil. At this point, the Pope grasped a rosary and said, "Here is the remedy against this evil. Pray, pray, and ask for nothing more. Leave everything else to the Mother of God." The Holy Father was then asked, what is going to happen to the Church? He answered, "We must prepare ourselves to suffer great trials before long, such as will demand of us a disposition to give up even life, and a total dedication to Christ and for Christ. With your and my prayer, it is possible to mitigate this tribulation, but it's no longer possible to avert it, because only thus can the Church be effectively renewed. How many times has the renewal of the Church sprung from blood? This time too it will not be otherwise. We must be strong and prepared and trust in Christ and his Mother, and be very, very assiduous in praying the Rosary. The prayer of the Rosary is either to Jesus Christ and to the Mother of God, the Virgin Mary. What it means: when Pope John Paul II spoke at Fulda, he had not yet been the victim of the 1981 assassination attempt. Speaking of the third secret of Fatima, he did not allude to anything resembling a future assassination attempt, which in 2000 the Vatican announced to be the subject of the final part of the secret that Our Lady revealed in Fatima in 1917, but rather to imminent chastisement and worldwide tribulation. The Holy Father implied that evil is the force behind the elements contained in the third secret. The themes alluded to here by the Holy Father are consistent with these considered by leading Fatima experts to be the substance of the real third secret of Fatima, and are discussed in detail in the article The Third Secret. And I'll leave a link below for you for anyone who wants to read on that. It's concerning what the Mother of God, the Virgin Mary, told to Sister Lucia, who is in the middle of this photograph. Links below.